In this video, we're going to do a couple problems that are kind of an extension of what we've been discussing about solving absolute value equations. So if we look at this equation, we have the absolute value of x plus 1 and then plus 2 equals 4. So there are absolute value bars, and so we will eventually be setting up our two equations as we practiced today in class. But what's different about this one is that we have this plus 2. So what we have to do is, before we can actually set up our two equations, we have to cancel out the plus 2. We have to isolate the absolute value. So before you can set up your two equations, you need to have an equation that looks like this. You need to have the absolute value of some quantity. Whatever's inside here we will deal with later, but it's the absolute value of something. That has to be all by itself on one side of the equal sign, and then equals a number. If it looks like that, then we will be able to set up our two equations and solve them as we were doing today. The problem with this one, or what makes this one a little bit different, is that the absolute value is not alone. There's a plus 2 with it. And so the first thing that we need to do is cancel out that plus 2. The way that we cancel it out is we add the opposite. Those cancel out, and then let's look at what we have. 4 plus negative 2 is 2. These have canceled out, and so now we have what we need. We have the absolute value of x plus 1 all by itself over here on the left, and then equals 2. Now we can solve this equation the way we have done with the other examples. We have this quantity, x plus 1, is inside the absolute value. So we need to find the value of x that will make x plus 1 equal to 2, or x plus 1 equal to negative 2. Okay, and now we have these two equations and we can solve them to find our two solutions. So we need to get the x alone. We have to add the opposite, cancel out. 2 plus negative 1 is 1. That'll be one solution to this equation, or we also need to solve this one. If we get the x alone here, again the process will be the same. We're going to add the opposite, negative 1 to both sides, cancel out. Negative 2 plus negative 1 is negative 3. So the two solutions to this equation are x plus 1, or excuse me, x equals 1, or x equals negative 3. Okay, so just kind of to summarize, in order to set up your two equations, you have to make sure that the absolute value is all by itself, is alone on one side of the equal sign. If it's not alone, like here it was not alone because we had this plus 2, you have to get rid of that plus 2 first. So in this one, the way that we did it is we added the opposite, minus 2 on both sides. Those cancel out. What you're doing is you're turning this equation into this equation, and so you're changing it into the form of equation that we've been practicing today in class, and so then you can set up one equation here, one equation here, and then you find your two solutions. So if we take a look here at number 2, what you'll notice is we draw a line through the equal sign. Again, you'll see the absolute value is not all alone. It's not isolated. So before we can do anything else, we have to cancel out that minus 3. We add the opposite, those cancel out, and then let's look at what we have. We copy this down, absolute value of 2x minus 8. Those are gone, so now all we have on the left is the absolute value, and here we have 5 plus negative 3 equals 2. And so now we're going to set up our two equations. We need to find the value for x that will make this quantity, 2x minus 8, equal to 2, or 2x minus 8 equal to negative 2. Okay, now we're going to be solving these two equations. And you'll notice these are two-step equations. So the first thing we do is add the opposite, plus 8. We have 2x equals 10. Cancel out the 2 by dividing by 2 on both sides. 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. So one solution to this equation is 5, or now we have to solve this one and it'll give us our second solution. So again, add the opposite, plus 8, plus 8, those cancel out. We bring down the 2x equals negative 2 plus 8 is 6. Divide by 2 on both sides. Cancel out. We have our x alone. 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. So the two possible solutions to this equation are x equals 5 or x equals 3.